Hello, hello, hello. Okay, I'm doing something different today. I'm going through the astrology, but I didn't write it down or anything. So I'm just going to look at my astrology page and go from there. And I will just start the way that they start. They start with the sun. Okay, so today we have the sun. And again, this is Western tropical astrology with the Placidus housing system. I'm getting my information from AstroSeek. So different places might have different calculations. This one uses the mean node. So, any hooser, let's go. We have the sun, 15 degrees of Scorpio, trining Jupiter at 25 degrees of Cancer, which I believe is getting ready to go retrograde soon. So, the sun is how we shine, and then Jupiter expands things, right? Jupiter is the planet of expansion, the biggest planet in our solar system. So when we think of the sun in Scorpio, we're expanding in the depths. So that's interesting. Uh, we want the marrow out of life, right? We want to go to the deepest depths, the deepest emotional depths when it comes to Scorpio, right? And we really just want to like lift everything out of our being that doesn't belong to us, any old dated beliefs, any self limitations, any maybe like subconscious stuff that's not ours. There's a million different ways of kind of saying the same thing, but it's basically like going into our energy so deeply that we're drawing out anything that's not ours. We're giving it permission to leave because we're ready to be free now. And of course, a trine is a harmonious aspect. A trine is something, and I always go back to like that Ferris Bueller quote: "If you're not paying attention, you're gonna miss it. Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you can miss it." So a trine is so beautiful. It's literally like magic. It's like the people that complain that they don't have something, but when they look around, they have everything that they need to make that one thing that they want, right? So it's about really just claiming your inner abundance. So the sun in this trine with Jupiter, sun in Scorpio, depths, Jupiter, expansion, Cancer, home, family, mothering, nourishment, love. So, how can we expand on those two concepts? And to me, when I blend these energies together, it really feels like loving yourself, loving all parts of yourself, which I would also say could be considered, excuse me, shadow integration, like going into all the parts of yourself that you think you should reject, that you think aren't to be liked, that you think don't fit in, and just loving them just the way they are. And as you accept yourself, you will accept others, others will accept themselves, others will accept you. It's kind of like, it feels like this really lovely energy. And I even talked about that on my other live about how the energy of today feels like silk. All right, so then the next one we're going to proceed through. Again, the sun in Scorpio is trining Saturn in, where is Saturn? Pisces retrograde 25 degrees. So it's funny when we have Saturn and Pisces together because Saturn is like restriction, boundaries, structure, foundation, diligence, accountability, which are all wonderful things, right? And then we have Saturn being in Pisces, and Pisces is like we like floating off into the ethers, living in the subconscious and the subliminal realms. Also, one who kind of swims at the depths, kind of like Scorpio, but just in a different kind of way. And when you think of Pisces and Neptune, because as Pisces ruler, it's very much about how can I be free? How can I get rid of these chains? But it's beautiful having Saturn and Pisces together because Saturn is saying empathy without boundaries is self destruction. And then we think about the fact that it's retrograde. And again, retrograde means a lot of things for a lot of different people, but that's one of the reasons why I feel like it's important for me to throw myself into the fire and just to come on here and present it to you the way that it feels and the way that I can read it, intuit it, because I do have a different perspective on things. It can be retrograde, can be rewriting, redoing, reprocessing, but for me, it's all about making your internal reference point your internal self and not something outside of you. So to me, this is all about where can I make boundaries for myself, for my energy that keep me grounded. They keep me accountable. They keep me taking the steps of aligned action towards what I'm growing in my life without getting bogged down by too much structure, but also by not just living in this, airy fairy dream realm and never coming back down to earth. So I feel like it's very much about like grounding yourself. And of course, it's a trine. So it is like this beautiful, magical energy that you could miss if you're not paying attention. So I feel like Sun trine Jupiter, Sun trine Saturn, very much about going inward. The one with Jupiter is kind of like, how can I take care of myself before others so that I have enough energy and vitality to provide for others, right? And I don't go into a deficit. And then the Sun trine Saturn to me is very much about where the places in my life where I've overgiven, where I've people pleased, where I haven't maintained my own boundaries. If you're a highly sensitive, empathic person, a lot of times you want everyone to feel safe. And, and sometimes it takes a lot of work with one's own energy and auric space to realize that other people's stuff is not our responsibility, even though we can feel it. It's not our responsibility. And in fact, that's a huge infringement on someone else's free will to do those things. All right, moving along, we have the moon, of course, in Gemini. Love that. So when we think of the moon, we think of emotion, we think of the mother, we think of the tides. A lot of times we can also think of like the deep parts of ourselves that we haven't quite brought to the surface. And when the moon is in Gemini, the Gemini is all about duality. It's all about single sides. It's about the avant-garde. It's about the road less traveled. It's about mind energy and the wind and the air. And we have it in a square. A square is what's called a hard aspect. And let's see here. I am going to go to my notes because I'm practicing and hopefully everyone's okay with that because I think sometimes I get too bogged down by what it should be instead of just going with, so tension, conflict, friction, growth, action opportunities. So it's just a challenge. And it's like, we're all so brave. We can handle a challenge. So our emotional depths are meeting our mind and they're making this uncomfortable, like squeezing, like pressure energy between Neptune, which again is like the ethers. It is water, but I feel like it's a higher octave of water. It's all about the ethers. It's all about dreaming and intuition and the spiritual realms and the liminal spaces. And of course, Neptune is retrograde in Pisces. So again, we have that double dreamy energy, right? Because Neptune and Pisces, Neptune rules Pisces. They're all about the the 12th house, so the subconscious, the hidden realms, and you also have the moon, which can sometimes be the hidden realms. So the moon in Gemini saying, do I have a good balance between my head and my heart, squaring Neptune. I'm sorry, I skipped. I was doing two different things at once. So it is Neptune in Pisces, but it's also Saturn in Pisces. So it's kind of like this checklist, this internal investigation and inventory of where do I not feel safe in my body? So the moon in Gemini, so the emotional mind, and then Saturn in Pisces retrograde. Saturn is, balancing its boundaries with the lack of boundaries that's found in Neptune. Pisces. And again, also with Neptune. Sorry, this is getting really confusing. So let's just blend these all together. We have the moon squaring Saturn and Saturn and Neptune are both in Neptune's sign of Pisces, and they're both retrograde. Saturn is retrograde and Neptune is retrograde. And both of those will be retrograde, I think, for a little while. I can actually look that up because I wrote that down. So yeah, Neptune is retrograde all of November. It will go direct in Pisces December 10th. And then Saturn is at 25 degrees retrograde all of November, and it doesn't turn direct until February. So this is, and of course, these are everything that I've talked about so far is an applying aspect. So it's something that's kind of like, it's just entered the chat. And of course, Saturn and Neptune move slower than the sun or the moon. So that stuff is going to be more prevalent. So the Neptune in Pisces, the Saturn in Pisces, both retrograde. So, a really big call to emotional boundaries. How do you feel safe in your own body? One thing that I like to talk about in terms of stuff like this is like, where is your home? For me, my home is wherever I go because it's my center of gravity. It's my center. So I call myself back to my home. I call myself back to my center. I feel like this is just the moon squaring both Saturn and Neptune retrograde in like the ending degrees of Pisces are both very much saying like, where do you not feel free to be yourself? Where are you perhaps over giving? Where are you overextending yourself? It's really just like a mental and emotional, and I want to say subliminal, but it's more like an all-encompassing energetic version of, can I take inventory? Can I have enough structure to where I'm nourishing myself and I feel safe and I have healthy boundaries and I'm not giving from lack, I'm giving from overflow? Can I nurture myself first before others? Can I feel safe in my body? Do I have some type? Because when it comes to Neptune and Pisces type energies, it's really important that we have some type of a diligence, some type of a schedule, some type of a routine to call ourselves back to ourselves. And that's what Saturn gives us. So I feel like that's really helpful. All right. And then we have Mercury, Mercury in Sagittarius. So this is very much like mind to motion because it's the air energy of the mind and Mercury and the fire energy of the arrow. So what you're thinking, you're sending off arrows into existence. And it's Mercury in that space is holding hands or in a conjunction with Mars. And Mars is all about forward moving energy. Mars rules the first house, which is Aries. Mars rules Aries and the first house. And that's all about new beginnings. That's all about like birth and the self and the I am energy. So if they're holding hands, Mercury, mind, forward motion arrow, and another forward motion Mars, like drive, motivation, life force, vital energy. Also in the arrow, like the things that you're thinking, you're going to act on almost immediately. And I feel like sometimes we could say things like, be careful not to act hasty. But I think because of the other energies just discussed, that this might be less of a concern at this time. I mean, obviously, we should always be making sure we're balancing our mind, heart, and I say solar plexus, right? What we're thinking, what we're feeling, and how it makes us feel. Because our solar plexus, when we get that pang in our solar plexus, that's telling us like we don't feel safe or we don't feel free, or something to do with boundaries a lot of times, and that life force, vital energy. So then we also have Mercury in Sagittarius opposing Uranus, and Uranus is in Gemini at 0 degrees retrograde, moving pretty quickly here. I think, is it tomorrow Uranus goes? Oh, technically it's today. Uranus will go back into Taurus. So this is a separating aspect, whereas the Mercury conjunct Mars is an applying aspect. So the Mercury opposing Uranus will be leaving us soon, and it will be Uranus will be moving back into Taurus because again it's retrograde. So Mercury mind in Sagittarius, forward motion, expansion, learning new things, coming to different conscious awareness of things, right? So just like expanding your consciousness is how I would think of that too. So Sagittarius is all about the ninth house. So it's about higher learning, spirituality, and traveling. And then Uranus is the disruptor. And I think of Uranus, sometimes he's said to be like the man behind the curtain, but I think of him as like electricity. And I love Uranus energy. It's radical change, it's revolution. If the people, places, and situations perhaps are not in complete alignment, it can be like, oh my gosh, what just happened? And I mean, even sometimes things are in alignment and things still just happen. And I haven't quite figured that one out, guys. If I do figure it out, you'll be the first to know, right? But with Uranus still in Gemini, moving towards Taurus, we're moving from the mind and the air energy to Taurus, which is the most, I want to say, the most grounded area of an astrology chart. It's all about what you can taste and touch. It's things outside of yourself. It's value. It's what you love and value. It's the second house, which I would say, if you're looking at like in the hero's journey or something like this, would be very much about like how you realize there are things, tactile things outside of you that you can touch, that you can hold. It's like the physical, tangible reality, and it's a very stable energy. Shadow side of that could be stubbornness. So if we have Mercury, the mind, opposing Uranus, we have Mercury, the messenger, who really wants to think, who really wants to just move quickly. That's air energy, right? And get stuff done. And in this fire energy of Sagittarius, which is this forward movement of an arrow, in this disruptor energy that's also in the mind. So it's like, where can I proceed forward in a way that feels honest and true to me? And I know that it's an opposition, and it's meant to be a difficult, hard aspect. And I'm not downplaying that by any means, but the way that I like to describe things, I'm not someone who tends towards the doom and gloom. I see like the positive aspects of things and like to interpret them in that way. So I guess you would want to take a beat before you speak, take a beat before you act. But really, this feels a lot like what I just described in my other live, where are we misunderstood as a person, as a culture, and how can I say this? Where do we feel like we're not free? Where do we feel like we just want to explode inside because we're being misunderstood, we're not being taken seriously? Maybe it's you're very upset that the earth is being treated in the way that she's being treated when she's here for us, literally to provide everything that we need. And you want to do something about it. So this is saying, try not to do anything harsh, because let's think about the long game. Let's be slow. Let's be deliberate. Let's have this divine timing. That's how I'm seeing that. And that is a separating, like I said, aspect, because tomorrow Mercury and Sagittarius will move into, Uranus will move into Taurus. So that'll be like a different type of blending energy. So it's almost like, think about what you want to do, but don't do it just yet. Wait until the energy is more stable. And then in Taurus, you're going to be like, oh, I can write down this whole list of ideas. I can write down my action plan, and you'll still have that Mercury energy saying like, okay, do you want to go ahead and get some other people involved with this? Want to get the community involved with this? Something like this. I have to sneeze. Excuse me. That was lovely. All right, moving on. Mercury trine Neptune, separating aspect. So Mercury and Sag, trining Neptune and Pisces retrograde. Again, this is just saying, what thoughts do you want to put into action? What dreams have you been musing upon for quite a while? And I feel like it has a lot to do with personal growth. So just sitting with yourself, allowing yourself to feel, allowing yourself to go to your center, allowing yourself to go into that silence where you can commune with everything that exists and allow like this multi-dimension stream of information to come in and fill you with all of these new ideas that you will not store in your being, but allow to travel through your being for some time before you perhaps actually do something with that energy, if that makes sense. And it could also be something like something that you just do for yourself, like you're writing a book, you're singing a song that you've written for yourself, you're making music, you're making art. Maybe it's like you're repurposing things. Maybe we're thinking about that Mercury opposing Uranus, and we're like, I don't want to use so many products. I don't want to be, using so many different resources when I could probably be reusing some other resources I have now, like that Starbucks coffee bear that's like going crazy, and then people are making all these parodies about like just going to the store and getting one of the plastic honey bears. I mean, I just keep my jars after I use them, like whether it's, tomato sauce for pasta or whatever. And yesterday I got a real big kick out of myself because I took one of the jars and it was all clean, and I just popped a hole in the top and put one of my reusable straws in it. And I was like, cool. And now I have like a to go cup. And, I don't have to use it forever, but I didn't need to go out and buy something new. So it's like, can you repurpose things around your house and create art out of them? In fact, my son, he's really getting into his artistic expression. And last night he was going around the house finding all kinds of like pieces of cardboard, old toilet paper, and paper towel tubes. He was just making different things out of them using that mind energy and that tactile sense. And I feel like that's really kind of like where I'm headed with what I'm talking about with this stuff, if that makes any sense. Like that Mercury trine Neptune, like the things that you're doing just for yourself to get that creative energy out of your body. You don't want it to just stay inside your body. You want it to move out of your body, and, put it into action. And not only will that help you stay centered and grounded and help your energy be more in alignment, but it also is an aligned action in the direction of the way that your soul path is asked to go, if that makes sense. That's a separating aspect. Venus square Jupiter, also a separating aspect. Venus right now is in Scorpio and she's squaring Jupiter. Again, Jupiter is in Cancer. So Venus is what we love and value. When she's in Scorpio, she's not taking she's not taking any BS. She's gonna call you out on your SHIT. She's gonna say, look, it's not that kind of party. Don't bamboozle me. No, we're not doing this. Squaring Jupiter. So she's kind of like calling you out for the places where you're being lazy. That's how I'm reading this. That's not sugar coated. And I have a Cancer sun, Cancer rising, Cancer Venus. So I can say this because I'm very familiar with this. Like I always call it like is it King? I can never remember when I come on here, but if you watch the cartoon Robin Hood, it's like from the 70s or something, the king that's always sucking his thumb, feeling sorry for himself. Venus in Scorpio, squaring Jupiter in Cancer, is saying, stop that right now. Life is happening for you. Life is not happening to you. You are not a victim. Whatever you want for yourself from other people, you have to give to yourself first, because that's how it works. That's how I see this energy. That's a separating energy. We have Venus square Pluto as well. So, and Pluto again is in Aquarius, 1 degree of Aquarius, or maybe 0 degrees, 11 minutes actually. And that's an applying energy. So this, and the one right before was also an applying. So it's kind of like it's coming in, you're getting used to it. Venus square Pluto. So Venus in Scorpio knows what they want, not afraid to ask for it. Probably will only ask you once, and then they'll give you the glare, right? I feel like Maleficent is Scorpio, and obviously I don't know anything about her really, but just like her intensity that she brings, like that's Scorpio. That's like, you cannot BS me because I see right through you. And when she's squaring Pluto, that's like calling accountability. That's like all this BS that's happening out in the, I want to say the hologram, because I can't even see how this stuff is actually real. Because it's like what humans actually are so disconnected from themselves that they think that control is something that they can harness. The power is something that is outside of people. So I feel like this is just kind of like, yes, it's Pluto and Aquarius. So Pluto is power. I feel like this is something that's going on inside each and every one of us, and also in the collective, where we're just done with the BS. We're done with the lies. We're done with the illusions. We're done with limitations. We're done with caste systems, hierarchies. We are ready to be free. We are ready to be human. We are ready to be who we came here to be. And we're seeing right through all of the lies. And I feel like it's on the inside. It's calling you out for the things that you've been lying to yourself about. It's also going to reverberate outside of you to the people, places, and spaces that are not in integrity. And you're going to start seeing them for who they truly are. Or maybe you always have, but now you're just like, I'm done with this. And I'm not giving you any more energy because you are not in your true self. And again, this ripples even further out into the collective to where it's like, this stuff is not okay. We're not taking it anymore. We're going to hold our stance. We're going to stand up for ourselves. We're going to stand up for each other. We want love. We want inclusion. We're sick of the BS. That's how I see that. And then we have the Mars trine Saturn, which is the separating aspect. Mars again, Sagittarius, Saturn retrograde in Pisces. So again, a harmonious aspect where Mars wants you to move forward with new ideas, new learning, learning about new cultures, learning new things, expanding your consciousness. In this beautiful trine with Saturn in Pisces retrograde, which is saying like, where have you not had boundaries? And where can you enforce boundaries in a way that feels good to you, that's sustainable, that will support your outward movement? And then we have Mars again in Sagittarius, opposing Uranus in Pluto, separating aspect. So Mars in Sagittarius, butting up against Uranus and Aquarius. So it's saying, I really want to do this right now. And I'm sorry, did I say Uranus and Pluto? I'm sorry, guys. Mars in Sagittarius, 180 degrees or opposing Uranus in Pisces retrograde. That to me is saying, I know that you want to break free. I know that you want to do things differently, but I need you to not act hastily. Like it's kind of saying wait, like that. If you ever push the button across the street, at least here in Arizona, wait, like that's how I'm reading that energy. It's saying Mars really wants to move forward, especially in Sagittarius, but then Uranus, the revolutionizer, is in the mind, and it's like we're not quite there yet. We're not quite there yet. Just wait until we move into Taurus, and then it will be a better time to have the feet on the ground, to take one step in front of the other. So right now it's kind of like, I feel like it's like this